Deadlock's long-awaited balance patch is finally here, and it's doing a lot more than balancing the game. Hey everyone, this is Connor here at Dead Unlocked, and today I want to quickly talk about kind of the 5 biggest changes in this patch. There's probably going to be plenty of videos out there that are going through the full notes. There are a ton of changes. Almost every item has been adjusted. Almost every hero feels like they've been adjusted. So, like I said, I want to talk about the main kind of systems and mechanics changes I think you should focus on here. So let's get right into it. All right, the number one first change I want to talk about is the Urn. So this is an experimental set of changes that devs have pushed that really do change top to bottom how the Urn works. So starting off, when you go to pick up the Urn, rather than just standing in place to channel it, you now have to melee it. Feels like meleeing is becoming a bigger and bigger mechanic in the game that devs want to lean into. Urn is now also always dropped off on the middle bridge, right in the middle of the map, and it's on an elevated surface. It's really exposed. And now when the Urn is dropped off, it'll go into a depositing phase where it'll show an Urn and it'll show a little circle around it that ticks down. Enemies can disrupt this by heavy meleeing it, and that'll claim it for their side. It'll also add about 1.25 seconds to the team's timer. Basically, when that timer runs out, whoever's team has it claimed, so to speak, claims all the benefits of the Urn, and then whoever deposited it gets like some golden statue buffs. If the Urn is favored or unfavored or in a comeback state, then the favored team will get 50% bullet and spirit resist and a 60-meter radius around the Urn while it is being carried, dropped, or deposited. So basically, it allows you to kind of have a mobile, just like fighting unit around it, and really encourages the team that is down to go ahead and fight for the Urn. It kind of goes to show that the Urn is becoming more and more a focal point of the game. I think devs want to push it into lower elos especially, and especially encourage, again, the team that's down to take those Urn fights. So huge changes. There's a lot of other changes as well, kind of some nuanced changes that go along with the Urn. I'll put those on screen, but this is experimental. I would expect this to change pretty heavily. From a few clips I've already seen, it's just total mayhem when people go to turn in the Urn, but nonetheless, massive Urn change. The number 2 big thing is actually just a new item. It's called Grit. It's an 800 cost vitality item that is an active item that gives you a 200 barrier for 4 seconds. And then it gives you just 1 out of combat regen, cooldown 60 seconds on the active portion. It upgrades to a lot of different stuff: weapon shielding, spirit shielding, reactive barrier, and guardian ward, then all the things that those would upgrade into as well. So again, I'll put all that on screen, but Grit, new item. This will be a super interesting one for the laning phase. I feel like players have gotten into a bit of a lull with just buying extra regen or buying healing right if you're going to buy an 800 cost green item. So this gives you, again, another option and a way to kind of more effectively scale into those 1600 cost vitality items like the weapon and spirit shielding, reactive barrier, that are probably a little bit underbought. So in favor of like Enchanter's Emblem, Battle Vest, enduring speed, those kinds of things. So I like this change, interesting new item. So yeah, Grit now in the game. And number 3, while we're talking about items, I gotta talk about Magic Carpet. I feel like this is gonna go from like a 0 to hero item. Now, the only change is now innately, it grants minus 15% gravity and it gives you plus 25% air control. So what it basically does is, and this is again innately, so these things are in effect while you're not even using the active part of the Magic Carpet, just when you're running around. It basically makes every hero feel like Celeste, and then if Celeste buys it, it feels crazy. So you're going to be able to absolutely zoom. Celeste did get nerfed where she's a little bit harder to hit, but this more than compensates for that. So I'll be super interested to see who buys Magic Carpet and kind of what situations you're looking to buy it in. It's a super snappy way to get around the map, and you feel really nice without it being used now. So good change. The number 4 biggest change, I think, is just that we're going to see a lot more action in the early game and kind of see a quicker transition to a little bit more dynamic of a mid game, I think. So especially if you pair those Urn changes with Guardians being basically more susceptible to damage in the early game. Tier 2 camps, I think, spawn faster, and breakables now have a little bit more of a longer respawn timer. So again, I think you're going to be more encouraged to roam the map early, get out of lane early, and then again, kind of allows your opponents to, on the opposite side of that, attack Guardians faster and faster. Mid boss also spawns immediately, so there might be some kind of gimmicky plays having to do with that. And then in the end game, there's some kind of backdoor mechanics that have been removed, and also base Guardian shrines are a little bit stronger and harder to get through. So it basically, it seems like a faster transition out of the early game into the mid game, and then the late game being just a little bit more, I would just argue players are going to be a little bit more tactical with how they make some decisions around late game objectives. Before we get to number 5, an honorable mention, there were a couple jump pads that were removed from the map, and I also feel like there were a ton of art additions added. I don't want to like speak out of turn on this. I play a lot of Deadlock, but sometimes you get Mandala effect where you're looking at the same thing all the time and you kind of forget what's new. So I feel like there are a ton of new textures and kind of fun art additions to the map. I'll show a few of those that I feel like I've seen on screen. If these are wrong, please don't come after me in the comments, but I think there are probably a lot more that I missed. So definitely highlight those. If there are more that you've seen that I haven't seen, I'd love to go around the map and find them. And number 5, I could talk about a lot of different hero, balance changes. There are so many, but I really feel like the most significant, I got to talk about Apollo. If you followed the channel for a while, I'm a big Apollo fan here, and he was really gutted. In particular, riposte was really affected. No longer automatically dashes, now grants you a sub ability immediately to target the hero you want to jump to for a brief duration. You can target the enemy before the parry to buffer it. Cast range is 25 meters. It doesn't trigger on damage auras. It also doesn't trigger off objective damage. And then there were a little bit of basically some changes to Flawless Advance to make the hitbox a little bit harder to hit. And then he's also a little bit easier to hit. So Apollo was, especially at the highest level, basically a must-pick hero, like Apollo, Celeste, a couple others. But it makes sense that he gets some nerfs here. Riposte is probably the one ability I would have definitely expected some nerfs to. So that was certainly changed as well. But all in all, I would encourage you all to read through the patch notes, at least as much as it pertains to your hero and maybe some items that you've commonly bought. Off the top of my head, like I know Arctic Blast had a lot of changes. Cult of Sacrifice got buffed. Just a lot of different shit. Heroic Aura got buffed a little bit by its aura range. So again, if you buy an item in Deadlock, there's a good chance it was changed. And if you play a hero in Deadlock, there's a good chance they were changed. So like I said, I wanted to make a quick video. These patch notes just came out and I spammed out a bunch of tweets about them, but I wanted to come on here and talk about it as quickly as possible. So there'll probably be a lot more channels talking about these changes more in depth. Definitely tune into those as well. But as always, thank you all so much for tuning in here at Dead Unlocked. We'll see you all next time, and definitely let me know in the comments what you think of all these changes.